Well, wow, I think that the EMEA team is a little bit more engaged than the US team. You guys are a lot more willing to use your chat. I love it. We'll keep that going. But just to say hi to everyone, my name is Corey Peterson. I am one of the product adoption managers here at Captivate IQ. So you, yeah, might see us from time to time. We occasionally work with Vicky to help with any feature adoption that you feel like you might need, whether it's wanting to understand a new feature or just brainstorm how it would work best for you. And one of the ways we do that is these webinars. Just a couple of housekeeping items about the webinars in case you've never attended or watched one before. But all of our customer webinar series are recorded so that we can post them later through the knowledge base. So this meeting itself will be recorded and probably posted within the next day or two. I'll see which video was better, this or the US time. So those recordings will always be available to you. You can find those under events and past events. You will also notice a section for upcoming events. We have recently posted all of our Q2, our Q1 and the early bit of Q2 webinars. So if you want to check out those topics, register for those, or even just set a little reminder for yourself to come back for the recording. But as noted as well, keep an eye or make sure that you know where your chat box is so that you can ask questions along the way. This webinar will really just be me showing you our feature releases that we've done from Q4 to now, including the feature release like Quotient that went live, I think, 2 days ago. So you can just kind of sit back, sip your coffee or tea or whatever floats your boat with whatever time you're in right now. But again, if you have questions, just let us know. But getting started on the agenda, again, we're going to start with the GA releases that have happened from Q4 to now, just making sure that we're all up to date, that we haven't missed anything from over the holidays, especially since one of them is related to a pretty big feature that a lot of people are using. And then towards the end of the webinar, we will focus on the new Quotient experience, giving you a tour since I know some things have moved around and changed, and even give you a couple of use cases for how to use one of the exciting new features launched as part of Quotient. So getting started with the recent releases. So in these webinars, we don't cover anything in beta just because those features are still subject to change. And again, these recordings are posted, so we want to wait till things are finalized. But if there's any beta features that you are interested in, I'm guessing that most of you roll to Vicky. So Vicky, I guess if you want to give a little wave, she'll be your go-to if you have any betas that you're interested in. But the GA features that we'll talk about are global attribute enhancements with plan management, plan template caching, which is also a plan management feature, and then payee translations, which will hopefully be exciting to a lot of people on this call. But just to kind of show you what is happening with plan management and global attributes. Don't let this title deceive you. We have had global attributes available with plan management for quite some time, pretty much ever since global attributes came out. But if you have ever felt like you haven't been able to access all of your attribute tables just because of the way that some of your custom tables may have been built, this enhancement will be good for you. So I'll just show you what that looks like. So this that we're seeing right here would have been the before experience. So just get our mindsets in there. So within plan management, if you are utilizing global attributes, you've been able to select global attributes as your input mapping source for quite some time. You know, you've gone through the process of selecting your template with DocuSign, your recipients, all of that. But when you come down to actually map things together, you may have noticed that previously you wouldn't have had access to all of your custom tables. And this is what I mean. So all of these rates that I'm selecting here, everything that is already mapped, this can all be found in either employee or plan attributes. So as you can see, they've either auto mapped together or I was able to map them just fine. But plan management quota, this is an example of something that I personally have in a custom attribute table. And I would have only been able to access this if the key value in my custom table had been able to be tied back to employee attributes. So just to show you what that looked like, if I am sending this out for Adalbert, with this enterprise AE quotas custom table that I have here, I don't have any employee names here. So I use these key values to tie back to let the system know which of these annual ARR quotas actually apply to each rep based on their role. And even though the employee IDs aren't listed here, that's totally fine, because if I go to the employee attributes table, I can see that the quota role that was my key value for my custom table does exist here. So CaptivateIQ was still able to trace this back so that I could say, okay, Adalbert himself is an enterprise AE level 1. Enterprise AE level 1 receives this annual ARR quota. So because that had been able to tie back, if I were to type in that annual ARR quota, what this previously would have looked like is the system would have just asked you to verify what value we are using as part of this quota role. So all I would have needed to do is say, tie this back to the quota role within employee attributes and use that as your mapping source. But even though that worked great, I was still kind of out of luck for anything that didn't tie back. For example, in these rate tables, we can see that this is where I store my accelerators. This is where I store my tier differences and thresholds. But my key values here are what is the rate table and what is the actual tier itself. Neither of these are available in employee attributes for me. So for me, I would have not been able to access this before. But that's where the exciting update comes in for this, for the Q4 feature releases that we did, is we added a little bit more flexibility so that you could still choose from these multipliers, even if it doesn't tie back directly. So you don't have to rework your entire attribute table. You don't have to download the information. We know that's been a headache for you guys. So what this will look like now is when I am actually going to map out what my tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 accelerators are, I will go ahead and just type this in. And let's see, I was looking at my rate tables. I have a few. Ignore that. I do a lot of demos. But the one that I'm looking for is this tier multiplier. So when I select this, you'll note that it will still ask me for, what key values I'm utilizing to reference this. And the dynamic fields do still exist. So that's just saying, hey, like if this field, then this field. But for manual references, that will allow me to pick from the key columns for anything that I can't otherwise access. So for rate table name reference, I'm going to say that I want to utilize, manual. I'm going to say that I want to access the multiplier for renewal ARR. And I am mapping for tier 1 reference. So I will select manual and tier 1. And then same thing going down the line. If I were to say that I want to grab my tier 2 multiplier, I would find that from my rate tables, select manual for both, and again, say renewal ARR for tier 2. So it does just provide you a lot more flexibility with which attributes you can access here. We never want plan management to be the reason that you don't build your tables the way that makes sense to you. So hopefully this flexibility is exciting to you all and allows you to access more. In addition, the other feature that we were going to talk about related to plan management is plan template caching. If you were around when we first started using plan management, this will probably be familiar to you. We have brought it back. But now when I enter all of these mapping fields, I only have to map for this template once. As soon as I send the envelope for this, CaptivateIQ will lock in what these references were so that the next time that I go to send out this document, via this like DocuSign template, Captivate will have saved all of my mappings to just help save a little bit of time moving forward. That doesn't mean that you cannot like adjust the references if you ever need to, but we'll just have all of that cached and queued for you, ready to go, so that really all you have to do is, select your dates, the recipients, all that good stuff. And we want to focus on efficiency for you guys. So hopefully those two will be very exciting. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Those were our two plan management updates for today. The final one of feature releases that was released from Q4 till now is very exciting. This is Payee translations. So we have launched the ability for your payees to be able to view CaptivateIQ in their preferred language. At this time, you'll note that we have the following languages available for use. So we have Canadian French, Simplified Chinese, Spanish, Poland, German, and Japanese. We are adding new languages. I believe that these last three languages were recently added. So if you have preferences or feedback on which languages you would like to see, or even if you see translations on the Payee experience you feel like there's a better word for, please feel free to let us know. There is a admin-facing article on this that does advise you on how to utilize like support and your CSM to provide any feedback for us when it comes to translations. Turning it on is pretty simple for your payees. Usually all that it takes to have it turned on for them is to set their browser locale. And so usually that will just kick right into the CaptivateIQ experience. So if someone has on like their Chrome that they prefer to speak Spanish, it should just translate over to CaptivateIQ. But if that does not happen, I will show you guys how your payees can kickstart that. So let's go to Mr. Finian. So here I am logged into Finian. He is one of the payees that I have staged in my environment. Right now, pretty much everything is in English, but Mr. Finian lives in Germany, so he's wanting to update this to German. You'll just go to his profile and settings. And then this locale setting right here is what we're looking for. You'll see quite a few, but again, remember that only the languages that we had listed are actually like fully compatible right now. But if I were to select German and save, now all of his profile has been updated into German, so I can read the menu as such, all of my different like settings and items. Note that only the CaptivateIQ owned content will update in their language. So as you can see, the statement is still partially in English, partially in German. This is a CaptivateIQ owned item, so that has been updated, but the actual like information included in the statement itself is still in English since that's how I built it as the admin. One way that you can work around this, if it is really important to you to have the full accessibility of language, is remember that you can assign multiple statements within any given commission plan. So if you want to build a statement in German, you totally can, and then just assign it to Finian and other German-speaking reps. But again, that is up to you. All of the Captivate owned items will be in that language of choice. And then it can, be up to you guys to decide if you want to provide this stuff in the language as well. But switching is easy. Again, I can continue to just go back to my profile and update this in my preferred language. So if he's like, no, I actually prefer English, let's go back. That's just as easy as it was. So again, there are articles for both the admin and your payees. So if your payees want to access this themselves, they can just type that into the knowledge base as well and get provided with instructions on how to turn that on. But before we move on, do we have any questions or feedback about the features that we have seen thus far? Which ones do we see ourselves utilizing the most? And if you don't have any questions, feel free to just do like a thumbs up or something too. All right. Thank you guys. Perfect. All right, then with the remainder of the time, we will cover our new quotient update, also referred to as Admin 2.0. And this is where we will spend the rest of the time. So why Quotient? I know that we've been making a lot of feature updates and everything, and Quotient itself is a huge UI overhaul. So why are we even focused on this in the first place? Well, one thing that we have received feedback from consistently from our customers is you wish that the Captivate IQ experience talked to each other a little bit more, that it took less clicks to navigate between pages, or even that workflows that were maybe interconnected across the Captivate IQ experience were more accessible and smooth. And that's one of the things that we're hoping to fix with Quotient is we want to try to help you achieve that desired tactical and strategic balance by simplifying your administrative load, reducing the number of tabs you have to have open, and clicks you need to take to complete your processes. And we already know that that's a huge focus of Captivate IQ. On average, admins see a 31% reduction in time to payroll from whatever they were using before. But we want to help you guys close that gap even more so that you can focus on the big picture. So we'll get started with a tour. See, I can close those two. We don't need them anymore. Close that. Perfect. Okay, so we'll take a look at the tour of Quotient just so that we can understand what has changed, and then we will dive into some of the cool features that come with it. But the first thing that you've probably noticed is that there's a lot more widgets throughout the Captivate IQ experience that will give you just nice insights, not only into your commissions, but also the tactical and administrative tasks that you're likely managing. So I can see here how many commission plans I have. I can see right at a glance how many licenses or users I have. Well, this is just users, licenses is later. But this just helps give me an at a glance view at what's going on in Captivate IQ and maybe what needs my attention. But all of these widgets link out to their respective parts in the platform. So if I'm looking at this users bit and I remember that, maybe somebody has transitioned out of Captivate IQ and they don't need access anymore, then it's one thing to spark that reminder and it's another thing to action on it. So this will just take you straight to where you need to go within, that experience. But the first place that has like big changes to it is within commission plans. So you'll note that for the most part, this experience is pretty much the same. I can view all of my commission plans, what their statuses are, what my preview settings are, and even I can still access all of these like action items from the kebab menu. But I do have additional insights as well, including how many payees are on this plan. Even if I were to drop this down into period groups, I'd be able to see it that way if maybe you have like a lot of period group breakdowns, and these smart widgets as well. A couple of things I really like is this plans that need attention. This just helps highlight and prioritize what I need to do today. So if I know that I'm just going to kind of QA things before I process payroll, this helps me identify which plans have errors that need my immediate attention so that I can start there. This also lets me know plans that I maybe have been working on previously. So I can see that a couple days ago, I was working on this VP plan, but just this morning, I was making some attribute adjustments to my enterprise plan. So again, just helps you put things top of mind that maybe need your attention. If I were to actually click into a plan, most of these tabs have remained the same. So overall, the experience of like managing through your commission plans via tabs is consistent. But this overview page has been added, again, just to provide you with those insights and quick actions that you might need to take. With all of these clickable, drill downable insights, these quick actions that are based on tasks. So this can be especially helpful if you have a new admin that you're onboarding and they know that they need to be in the commission plan, but maybe they don't quite have memorized where they need to go to add a new employee. This quick action based on task can just make that a little bit easier as people are getting familiar. But also what I really like, this needs attention. Again, it'll just call out any errors that you need to focus on. And this recent changes does also timestamp all the recent updates that have been happening. So especially if you have multiple admins within CaptivateIQ, this can just help you keep on top of everything so that you, like, if you know that you have a lot of updates that you need to make, I can be sure that, okay, it looks like Jennifer is working on this plan. Maybe I'll switch over to the next one. Again, this overview page is the only new tab that has been added to commission plans. Everything else is the same. There's quite a lot of payout updates, so we'll actually come to that last. And we'll move on to the people experience and what has changed there. So first things first, you probably noted that the employees section of the people menu is not there anymore. That's not an error. We have actually consolidated the users and employees pages into one to make this a lot easier for you guys to manage. So right away, you'll note that there's a few differences to this screen. So this is where you can see your remaining licenses so that if it looks like you're coming up on your threshold, you can maybe reach out to your CSM or move to like deactivate maybe some users that you've forgotten about. But whatever, these tasks are, the quick insights, again, all of these will link out. So if I were to click this, it would take me straight to where I need to go. And I can even resend emails. It looks like I have a lot of users who haven't quite logged in yet. It happens with robots. But you can always send that welcome email to hopefully like increase your payee engagement because you've spent a lot of time building the payee stuff. Let's get them engaged. But even within the user experience, the user profile itself has a lot of changes to it as well. So the user and the employee profile has been rolled into one. So any setting that you would have noticed in either separately are now all in one profile. So I can still go here to deactivate her license, update Addie's login status, and notice like her inquiry settings and such. But I also have access to a lot of the other items that are related to Addie. So let's say that I know that I need to log in to maybe update Addie's like user role or whatever else. I can also go here to view any plan documents that are associated with her. I can come here to view any previous statements that have been generated for her. I can view and access her hierarchy, her visibilities, any plan assignments, which was a previous accessibility as well. But I can also view and update her employee attributes. So again, if we're thinking along this story of having a streamlined experience, giving you more access to what you need, now I don't have to have like 5 tabs open to update Addie's like settings and attributes and such. I can just start here and let this take me to everywhere else that I need to go for her. So that should be very exciting. But the final place that we'll look at on our tour of Quotient is the payouts experience. If you don't know where to get started, because we have also consolidated a few pages on here, this is where likely the biggest learning curve will happen. But I promise, give it just like a day of being curious and exploring, and you'll start to get the hang of it. But this overview page is a good place to start if you're feeling overwhelmed with payouts. So this is where I can view what has recently been processed. If I just really quickly want to access December's plans or December's payouts to, see if everybody's done their reviews, is everything good to go? So that just quick links out as well for any of these. I can also see what upcoming payouts I have so that I can keep myself on schedule. So it looks like here I'm a little late, but that's okay. I was waiting for this webinar. So I can see these upcoming payouts, when they're going to be due. And same thing, if I click on them, it'll just take me to that page where I can process the payouts with the date already filtered. In addition, we do also have these quick actions to help take you to where you need to go. So again, the overview page is a really great place to get started as you're getting familiar with where to go for everything. So if I want to export my data, if I want to actually go to process a payout, this will help navigate me to where I need to go. So let's say that I want to process a payout. One of the features I really want to cover is payroll groups, and I'll get to that in just a moment. But you'll notice that your process of actually like completing and processing the payouts will look pretty different here. So you're probably used to that like big calendar type view where you could just find your month and then select all the commission plans that were relevant, which was really great if you just wanted to do things in bulk, which note that you can still just process in bulk here. If I want to process for everything in January, I'll just select all the people who have payout dates for January 31st, and I can still do that in bulk if I would like. But where some of the issues came in, and well, not issues, but where some of our feedback came from you guys is that if you had custom experiences, the last process page was not super fun. Like, let's say that you had to remove anybody who was ramping so that you could process them on their own, or if you wanted to be able to slice and dice your data in a specific way. There just wasn't that many customization options. But that is where payroll groups will come into play. And to help us understand payroll groups, I want to talk about an analogy first. So with payroll groups, this allows you to define a subset of users within and across your plans to help you process payouts for specific payroll groups, but even look at your payouts in that pre-filtered way. And the analogy that I want to use with payroll groups and why I think that is so cool is walking down cobblestone roads. And let's say that you were walking down a cobblestone path and someone says that you're allowed to walk as fast or as slow as you want, but you're not allowed to step on the cracks. You have to walk on the actual stones. You'd probably be able to do it. Walking isn't like super hard, but you probably would not be sprinting. I doubt that you'd be like able to zone out completely. And this might take a little bit longer with your attention needing to be on your right and your left foot as you're trying to make everything match. If you think about the way that you do your processes for your business, maybe you have a specific way that you like to process payouts or send off like review and approval cycles. But maybe you have your business flows on your left foot and what you can do on Captivate on your right foot, and they don't always match up. So what we're trying to accomplish with payroll groups is just providing that smoother experience for you so that you can actually connect and customize the way that you run your payroll in CaptivateIQ to be a better fit for how your processes actually look like. So with that analogy being said, we're going to go back and take a look at what it looks like to set up a payroll group and then how this actually helps connect those processes together. So to get started with payroll groups, I'll start on the overview page and click Manage Payroll Groups. You'll see here that I already have a couple of groups set up. It looks like I have one for my EU payroll as well as for any quarterly related roles. This just helps me, again, so that I can, if I know that I like to process payouts in chunks, this just makes the most sense for my brain. If I wanted to make a new one, let's say that I want a payroll group specifically for my employees who are ramping so that I can easily view their statements to verify if everything's going good for them. So I'll say this is a ramping employees in their first, let's say 6 months of hire. And then from here, the remaining options that you see on the payroll groups page will allow you to actually define who should go in here. And again, you can do this within a commission plan if you need to drill down specifically between like reps in any given commission plan. But you can also do this across plans. So if I know that I have ramping employees on all of my plans except for the VPs. Maybe my VPs don't have a ramp stage. Then I can select all of those plans and related period groups. But I can also utilize attributes to define my groups as well. So for this case, I don't want to have to like keep a list of ramping employees that I like reference specifically and search them every single time I process payroll. Instead, I'm just going to select from my ramping attributes. I do have this stored within my attribute table so that I can say this person should be ramping true. That way, when I say this group, I will have that specific subset of users who is currently ramping on these plans. But because this is attribute related, it is dynamic. So as people move on and off the plan, they will also move in and out of the group. But just to give you a couple additional ideas of the ways that other admins have said that they would potentially run payroll groups. You can also do this by like statement template, by payout currency, by role. Even if you have attributes that store like segment, industry, product sold, region, you can sort by all of that as well. So again, the use case that would be great for that. But I guess first, let me save this. So how this can be used to help you. So when it comes to processing a payout, you've already noted the time-based filter up here, the payout date filter up here. You can also select from your specific payroll groups as well. So if I were to select ramping employees, it looks like I only have 2 employees that are ramping as of January 31st. So I would just be able to process their payouts and take care of them that way. So again, that can be helpful if you know that you like to do things in batches at a time. But just as well as looking at payouts. So if I want to kickstart like a review and an approval process, but I know that maybe the teams that go to the West have a different director than my Eastern teams, and they need separate like review and approval workflows set for them, then I can just have, I think the last time I processed was October. Let's see. Okay. I haven't processed in a while. That's embarrassing for me, but that's okay. But you can designate that payroll group. And again, that will filter everybody out for you so that you're only looking at the people within that specific group. And then from there, I can continue forward with any published workflows. So again, this can be nice if you know that everybody needs like a different final person to review their statement, or even if you just wanted to be able to look at just your ramping people to look at their statements easily without like digging through the weeds. Those are just some really great use cases for the groups. One final thing that we'll touch on with Quotient is also the amazing filters that you now have access to within the payout screen. So now not only can I filter payouts by like rep or plan and things like that, but I can also filter on these quick insights. So if I just wanted to see the highest 10% of payouts that I had so that I can, take a look to see if I actually meant to pay this much, or if there's no flag raised, we're good to go. But this is just one quality control check that I can do easily as an admin without needing to, create a custom process for that each time. I'll just go into my filters, access what I have, and it looks like these people are fine. They're all of my go-getters, so I'm not worried about these numbers at all. But hopefully that gives you some good ideas for how you can utilize payroll groups to connect your processes together. That was also our quick tour of Quotient. We do have plenty of resources about Quotient to help you get started. If you still feel like you need a little bit more time to get familiar with it, we have an updated tour, updated Knowledge Center articles to help you get familiar with all those little features. But I did want to open up this time for questions if there were any others that came to our attention throughout this call. You're welcome. Thank you for coming. Yeah, I'll leave just a moment. Hey, no questions from Betty's side. That's perfect. All right, looks like we are all good to go. You guys are quick learners. So thank you all so much for your time this morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you're calling in from. I appreciate all of your engagement in the chat and have so much fun exploring with all of this. If you have some extra time, it looks like we're wrapping up 20 minutes early. I challenge you guys to play around in Quotient a little bit. As adults, we need to learn by actually doing as well as seeing. So explore a little bit today if you have that chunk of time. And good luck with the rest of your week. And let us know if you need anything else.
Thanks,
Bye.
Chloe.
You're welcome. Bye, guys.